Y'all planning for this?
The number one thing an employee should be concentrated on in their organization is becoming indispensable. You want to earn more money. You want to have flexible schedules. You want a hybrid arrangement. You want to elevate your position in that organization. Then you should be deeply focused on becoming indispensable to your employer. Welcome back, TPR Nation. This is Jamie Shalansky, an episode of Worlds to Conquer, and we are going to dive into the fun topic of compensation for employees. And this is a topic that, believe it or not, is really hard for most employees to talk to their employer about. There's a lot of angst and anxiety. And for whatever reason, maybe this has always been the case and I've just been oblivious to it. But in the last 5 years, I feel that an employee spouse is a bigger part of this conversation than they have any right to be. And here's what I mean by that. Like when you're in a dual income household or even a single income household, talking about the finances is 100% a conversation that you should have as husband and wife, wife and wife. I don't care. Whatever your arrangement is, that is absolutely a conversation that you should have about your household. But I think it stops at the point that your spouse is weighing in on what you should tell your boss or helping you write an email or having these other conversations. And the reason that I think that it should stop there is simply because it sets you up for failure. A lot of times your spouse gets to hear the highlight reels of all the negative things or the annoying things. They don't hear the triumphs. They don't hear the successes. They don't hear all the positive or the fun that you have as well. They're just hearing about the negative. And so when they hear about the negative all the time, they want to give you advice. They want to coach you on why your worth is so great, but they might be blind. They might be completely blind to some of your failures or your weaknesses in that organization. That would make asking for a salary increase really inappropriate. So let's dive through, if you are a team member, what are the ways that I like to be approached about this? Because it is 100% about the approach. And I've had a really good time this last 6 months negotiating salaries with people. And I have just been from one end of the spectrum to the other, where somebody's asking for too little and somebody's asking for a ridiculous amount compared to their worth. And of course, COVID, being several years ago, but left us all with wage inflation and inflation across the board. So 2 things are happening there. One, the price of goods has gone up incredible amounts. I mean, I know that the federal government likes to tell us it's less than 10, but their federal government must not be buying groceries or have those subsidized by something. There must be a lot of government luncheons or per diem charges, because when I go grocery shopping, my grocery bill is 30% more than it used to be. I'm spending more now that it's my spouse and I than when we had children in the house with us. It is a lot more money being spent on food, gas, electricity, everything is up across the spectrum. And so as employees look to keep up with inflation, they're coming back and asking for renegotiation on compensation. And that's fair. One of the things I want to make sure that you're doing, if you are a leader or a member of the organization that is the business owner or the financial advisor, the entrepreneur, if you manage other people, you must do this. You must have 2 appointments always on the schedule with your team members. One of them is a performance review and one of them is a compensation review. They are not the same meeting. And the reason that they're not the same meeting is because we got into this culture in which every time somebody had a performance review, they thought they were getting a pay raise, that it would translate to a pay raise. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you need to have a performance review because you either have more potential and your boss sees that, but you don't, or there's things that you're just kind of sucking at and your boss needs to get a course correct you and get you on the right path and give you the tool set that you could be better on. And a lot of us are blind to our weaknesses. The best people out there, the most successful entrepreneurs that I know, are not blind to their weaknesses. They know exactly what they are, and they either fix them or outsource them. I akin this to the Brian Tracy rule. The Brian Tracy rule says, the kid goes to school, he comes home with a report card, there's 6 subjects, he's got 5 A's and 1 C. What does the parent say? I know what my dad said. He said, what'd you get a C in there for? Looks like there's room for improvement. We heard that so much in our childhood. There's room for improvement because you got one C on a subject that you will go on to the rest of your life to be perhaps mediocre at and put the most amount of energy around. So if you have something that you're just really bad at, you can either condition that skill and become better at it. This can happen. In fact, I am not naturally a detail-oriented person. It's not something that came natural to me. I love to vision and wonder and dream and imagine. And, I love purple prose and language and the way that we can, use words to make us feel things. And that is not always a person that is really detail-oriented. But because of my career progression, I got myself in a situation where I had to learn to be more detail-oriented. I had to learn to slow down and be really intentional about the work that I was doing. I had to measure every single word because it could be misinterpreted by an attorney, by a court, by an employee, by a client relationship. And so I had to give myself the ability to slow down, focus. And what was instrumental in helping me achieve that skill was learning about deep focus. So I eliminate the distractions in my workplace. One of the things that's really important to me is like my office, because I have a physical office, brick and mortar location where Shalansky & Associates, our RIA up in Anchorage, Alaska, is run out of. And then I also have a home office. My home office is separated from the entire house. In fact, when my contractor was building it, he had built this beautiful glass window and door office on the main floor right off of the kitchen. And he said, here's your office. And I said, oh no, that's not my office. That room up there, tucked in the corner that nobody wants as their bedroom, that is my office. And it's small. It's small and it's minimalist for a reason. I don't want anything in here to distract me. I am not in the mindset of playing office. When I come in this room, I literally have on my walls a flag, the Declaration of Independence, because God bless this country. God bless this country. I have a calendar for the year rolled out so I know exactly what's happening with our surge dates, our mini surge, my team's time off, any CEs that I want to do. And I have a giant whiteboard. On the floor of my office, I have a bookcase with some of my go-tos inside of there. And then I have my desk. That's it. And my desk is not full of clutter. It's super minimal. Why? I eliminated all of the distractions out of here because when I'm in my office, I am here to GSD, get done. And then I want to get out of here. I want to go and be intentional about being around my family. Why do I think if you are working from your kitchen table, stop it immediately. Stop it immediately. Your work is sloppy at best. It's super distracted and it's incredibly unprofessional. Now, you might be saying, Jamie, I don't have any other space. I don't have, a house where I can have my own office. I've seen a lot of people invest in she sheds or he sheds or remote offices in their backyard. It costs you $5,000 or $6,000 depending on where you're at. You plumb electricity and boom, you're in that area in that workspace. If you don't have that, then go to a public working space, not a Starbucks, not a place where people are there to slow down and chill out, but go to a private working space. I have one employee, and I'm so darn proud of her because she was really trying her office. When I called her out, I said, I bet you're working from your kitchen table. And that's why you keep missing all these little details. And her face got red. She goes, oh my gosh, you're so right. I'm working from my kitchen table. And I get interrupted whenever somebody comes in the house. And I said, yep. And we cannot focus that way. You can get 8 hours work done in 4 if you are deep focus working. And so she tried to set up an office because she had been working from home. Plus her husband doesn't work and, they got kids and pets and all these kind of things. It was super distracting. And so what she did instead, she said, I went down to a recreational facility. They are dead during the day, absolutely dead. And they have this like corporate area, if you will, if people wanted to have like a private rental. And they let her sit there and she just uses it as a separate location office and she jams out work. I mean, she's focused. There's no distractions. No one's bothering her. She patronizes it by having lunch and something, but she's going to have lunch anyways if she was at home. And she just gets done when she's there. She's just really, really focused and intentional. So don't say, I have all these obstacles and I have no solutions. Be a person that creates your own solution. She did. I didn't suggest that. She said, nope, I went scouting. I drove around my town. This is what I found. And the work she cranks out when she is there, exceptional, exceptional. So we all have problems. We all have obstacles. We all have to figure out solutions. A lot of us want to work from home. We love that flexibility. A lot of us are not made to work from home. Either our home environment doesn't call for it, our focus can't handle it because we are quote unquote working from home while turning around laundry or doing dishes or cooking or laying stuff out or getting the groceries delivered. If you are doing all of those things, you are hyper distracted and losing focus. One of the rules that I have in my house, because my spouse does work from home as well, so they have a separate office, I have a separate office. And one of the hard rules is that in my office, if my door is shut, do not come in. Don't knock. Don't bother me. Don't make any interruptions. That is when I cannot be disturbed. However, if I'm in my office cranking out work and I am doing work that I could be interrupted on, so not when I'm doing deep focus work, but when I'm, returning some emails, if I'm, filling out insurance paperwork, if I'm doing some of those like marginal tasks, I'll open my door. And that means that somebody can holler up and say, hey, I got a question, blah, blah, blah. And so I don't hide here. I make myself available. And I also set the rules around when I'm not available. That is a critical key concept, because if you keep your door shut all the time, your family members are going to feel, what's the point of you being home? Because you're always in this like guarded, protected bubble. The second thing that we just recently started picking back up is we're going into the office more, the physical office. We like our team. They like seeing us. And so 1 or 2 days a week, we will physically go into that space. I normally get less work done when I'm physically in the office because I'm making sure that I'm available to the rest of my team. So I'm really intentional about when I'm using my focus days and my unfocused days, the days that I can be interrupted, if you will. Okay, you could be thinking, Jamie, that's a great tangent about workspace and deep focus work, but how does that relate to employees asking for more compensation? Let's dive into it. I just said to one of our CEOs, we use the term integrator because we use the entrepreneurial operating system. It's an organizational language and structure that you can use for your organization. I said, hey, just so you know, as we go into 24 and 25, I'm getting back to brick and mortar. I want more people inside of the office, and I'm not hiring any more remote employees. And she said, okay, can I ask why is that? And I said, yes. For one simple reason. If one more employee tells me they cannot get something done, or they cannot take a phone call, or they cannot be present at a meeting because they are at school pickup or drop off, I'm going to lose my And here is why. Am I not family oriented? Nope, that's not the case at all. But call a spade a spade. If you are taking care of your family and that is your number one priority, I am 100% about that. Do I think that women or men can work and be parents? Yes, 100%. But don't come to your employer and ask for full-time compensation when you are doing part-time work, because the other time you are dedicated to your kids, to your spouse, to your family, and keeping your household running. That's okay. That's okay to have that, but just recognize that you are not working full time. And I will argue this sun up to sundown with people. I've got some great employees, but they're moms and their kids are under the age of being able to drive or reasonably take a bus. And so they are constantly interrupted by the school. And here's what that means. They get up in the morning, they try to have their morning meetings before they start shuffling the kids out of the house. So in between the meetings, they're making sure kids are eating, making sure bags are packed, they're making sure everything's loaded up for sports after school. They're making sure they have projects. They make sure they have lunch. They make sure all these things happen. They get off the phone call, and then it is this mad scramble to get out of the house. Come on, go, 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 go. Everyone in the car. You should have had your shit together. You know, you get in the car and then it's like, oh, I forgot such and such. Gosh darn it. You know, so you run back in and you get it. Or worse yet, you take your kid all the way to school and then you get a call from the school and it's your poor little child saying, I forgot my lunch that you packed for me. What do I do? Well, I'll tell you what my parents did. Yep, you're not going to starve from missing a meal. So I got to not have a lunch if I forgot to bring my lunch to school. They weren't going to drive back down. That was part of teaching me responsibility. And so they get back to the house, you know, now it's 9 o'clock. Now they're settling back in. Well, it takes, if you read deep focus and distractions, it's going to take 30 minutes before you get settled into whatever you just had a meeting about. So you lost all of that energy of meeting with people when you had that hour-long interruption. And do not kid yourself. I do not care if your school is 10 minutes away. It is an hour-long interruption. So then I have another different employee that has a small child in school. They don't have them in daycare or anything. Babysitter comes over, so they got to open the door, go through the things with the babysitter. The babysitter watches them for 3 hours. Then it's supposed to be nap time. But do kids consistently and habitually nap all the time? No, they do not. It's inconsistent and it's disruptive. And even if your little baby is napping, you're still going to have to check on them. That's still a thing. I'm a mom. I got it. I understand it. And then when the baby wakes up, which is at a time you don't get to set a timer for necessarily, now you've got feedings and changings and you've got these interruptions. And then you're getting lunch on the table and the lunch is on the table. Then it's time to go pick up kids because kids are getting out at 2:30 or 3:30. This subject pisses me off so bad in our country. And I do not understand why more working parents aren't ringing the bell and the gong about it. Why are school hours the way that they are? They are structured in a manner that requires you to hire some type of after school, before school, childcare, daycare, sports program and spend additional dollars because school's getting out at 2:30 or 3:30. And don't even get me started on the fact that school's not year round, which also does nothing but take impoverished kids and put them behind the learning curve comparatively to more economically advanced kids that get to go to camp, get to do all these things. Fix it. Year-round school on hours that work conveniently for more working parents. Why aren't we ringing the gong about this? And we sit here and we lament the cost of childcare. Why aren't we lamenting the fact that in most cases, education in this country is full-time pay for 3/4 time work? And I'm not saying that teachers and administrators don't work hard. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that all we've done is penalize kids' abilities to stay up in a global economic world. And then we have hurt parents that are trying so desperately to be everywhere every minute of the day. And we can sit here and kid ourselves that it doesn't impact our work, but I'm telling you right now it does. All of my working moms and dads, this is not gender exclusive. In fact, we just had to let somebody go because he was a working dad and he was not able to keep up with the work and being a at-home parent. It wasn't happening. There was constant interruptions. I mean, every single hour there was an interruption and we weren't able to get anything done. And do I hate that for someone? Yeah, absolutely. But that doesn't mean you can't do part or 3/4 time work. That doesn't mean you have nothing to give. It just means that it doesn't always have to be at the expense of your employer. Sometimes you got to call a spade and say, listen, I love my job and I know that I work really hard, but I know that I'm super distracted and it's taking me 8 to 10 hours a day to do 4 or 5 hours worth of work. So let's just move me to part-time and I'll feel an incredible amount of accomplishment because in those 4 hours, I'm going to practice deep focus. I'm going to massively get done and be able to move on. Instead, what I have experienced the last few years is a lot of people wanting to be this sort of full-time caregiver, full-time employee, and then come back to their employer and ask for more compensation. And a lot of our employees are salary and not hourly. But if I pulled reports and I looked at the hours, they're not putting in full-time hours. Or if their computer is on, yes, they're coming back and touching something. So let's just say, for example, they're racking up 40, maybe even 42 to 45 hours. But if you look at how many times they start, stop, we're paying for all that start, stop. And so the work you could have had done in just a few hours is now taking you an exasperated day because I am guilty of this. If I get out of a meeting and if I don't immediately jump on the work that I have to get done, or if I don't get that work done that week, that meeting might have well been a year ago. I am so lost on where I was and what my thought process was. I have to really do a lot more work researching and looking into it. And this is one of the reasons at RRA up in Anchorage, Alaska, we are adamant with our financial advisors that they immediately in that meeting, they do their dictation. Nobody leaves for the day unless your dictation is done from your meetings. And then anything you needed to do that you can do, you are doing. And so one of our financial advisors, Christian Sakamoto, he resisted this, not rudely or disrespectfully, he just didn't see the value of it necessarily at first when we were showing him how to do this. And then he came to Micah, who runs our financial advisor pod, my baby brother, and he said, hey, this is instrumental. I am flying through appointment prep the next time we have surge or I have a client meeting because I'm getting my work done immediately after that appointment and I'm brain dumping everything into Infinity, our CRM. And so this has helped him by doing a little extra work when the moment is over. He saves himself a significant amount of time when he goes to meet with that client or converse with that client again because it's already there. He already brain dumped all of it. So it's instrumental to be able to do this. The second reason I am bringing employees back to brick and mortar, it's better for them. It's better for their mental health. It's better for them to have simple sense of purpose. It's better collaboration. They're able to advance projects and things faster when they are in person versus when they are remote. Here's what I mean by that. Oftentimes when we're remote, we are asking somebody to get on their calendar. We are asking to do a Zoom meeting. We're asking for a Google Meet, and we're scheduling those out. Well, sometimes you just have a quick question. And a quick question to a team member is, hey, do you know where I can find this? Or I wasn't able to find that. Now, if you have to do that electronically, now we're all tiptoeing around each other. I don't know if you're busy. I don't know what you're doing. I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm going to get on your calendar. And then things are getting delayed because now you're waiting for another team member that would have and could have been probably a lot easier to just get done inside the office. Now, is that a contradiction to the deep focus work? Yes, 100%. But we can only deep focus so many hours out of the day. Even the most intentional people can only practice deep focus for a maximum of a few hours. Maximum. I mean, think about when you were going through school, maybe it was university, maybe you were studying for a licensing exam, and how long they said for you to study, then take a quick break. Study, take a quick break. And so we have focus rooms in our office that if you're doing something, let's just say it's AUM billing, you need to be in deep focus. That means all your turned off. You're not having notifications. You're not getting buzzers. You're not getting all of these distractions. You're in one of the conference rooms, the door shut, and boom, you were doing nothing but focused on that task and getting it done. Now, just like me, you cannot hide out in that room. That you need to get your stuff done and get out of that room. If you have a lot of people in your office like we do, you could try scheduling it so people can schedule their focus time inside of there. Well, this has not been too much of a problem. Only about twice a year during our biggest surges do we have some competing conflicts with trying to get in there. I'm the kind of boss that I'm super flexible. Like if I'm in a conference room with a client, go take my office. I don't care. Go take my office and pound out whatever you got to get done, because that is what serves our clients. Not wanting you in my office is about ego, and wanting you to use my office to focus while I'm not using it, that's about getting stuff done and taking care of the client. So those are the reasons that I don't think work from home works for everyone. That doesn't mean that I've got half and half. 50% of our work from home employees bring it back to the office. The other half do really, really good. They do better work when they're from home. Now, in Anchorage, Alaska at our RIA, we do bring everyone up for spring surge because we do our team retreat, and then everyone is in the office for the first 2 weeks. And it's really good. Even our super introverted people, they love doing that because then they get to see everyone. They get to be in the thralls of it. But our people that are excellent at working from home, by the end of the 2 weeks, they're like, oh my God, I can't wait to get back home so I can get stuff done, because it becomes too distracting for them. So my employees that can work from home, I'm all about it if they are that type of person. But not everybody who wants to is that type of person. Sometimes people have to have their butt in the seat and they got to be in the building for it. And so you have a responsibility as a manager, as a boss, and don't give me this, well, we let so-and-so, so shouldn't we let so-and-so? No. And if an employee says to you it's not fair, tell them the fair comes one time a year and to vote on the cabbage next time because it gets underrated. A fair is not anything that should be said in the workplace. People are like, well, if I have the right, if they have the right. No, you don't have that right. What are employee rights? You have to have a safe environment, a reasonable wage. You need to be compensated, and you need to, in my opinion, be able to elevate your skill work. You need to be worth the value for that you are receiving and that you are giving. So, it's not fair. Oh my God, you sound like a 5-year-old if you come into a meeting and say it's not fair. Now you have no basis for your argument other than petulance and immaturity. So make sure that you have reasonable ways. All right, so that's why I'm bringing everyone back into the building. For those that cannot work from home, the ones that can, I will be, and I will not be entertaining conversations about fairness because I am not a kindergarten teacher. All right, now let's talk about ways that employees can come to their supervisor, their lead, and talk reasonably about negotiation. So one of the things that we taught all the kids in our family when they were growing up, when we said it doesn't matter what your job is, become indispensable. Don't focus on the dollar amount, especially hourly, because a lot of people's first jobs are focused on the hourly rate. Don't focus on that. Focus on becoming indispensable. Focus on becoming so much value to that organization. They don't know how they're going to run the business if you are not there. And so sometimes this means, thank you, sir, may I have another? Thank you, sir. May I have another? Here's what this means to me. When I first got my licensing and designation as a financial advisor, my father had a very prominent client, and the client, of course, had adult children, and the adult children had run into all this debt. Now, the prominent client, this is his daughter. It was the husband that had run in all this debt. There was, he wasn't a spendthrift. He got injured and they racked up a ton of medical debt, and then they had to put everything on a credit card. So it was an unfortunate circumstance, but one that resolves in a lot of debt. So here I am, brand new license punch, got my ticket done. Super excited to start working with affluent people. And guess what client I get to work with? It's not the affluent client. It is the son-in-law who they've got to clean up this debt. And so my dad said, don't worry, we're going to charge him because we don't work for free. And, you'll get your split of commission based on this. And so I said, oh, that's great, right? Now, I'm young. I'm stupid. Is it stupid? No, I'm just ignorant. I'm ignorant because I could be educated out of it, and I was. So I get on the phone with the credit card companies, the medical institutions. There's things that are being garnished. There's, judgments, all this kind of stuff. And I've never in my life done debt consolidation. I'm not licensed to do debt consolidation, but I am licensed to give financial advice and start working on cash flow and how do we handle things. And what I learned was you could pick up the phone and get a hell of a lot of information from people when you just ask. And a company that you owe $10,000 to, if you have nothing, but you could offer them $2,500, they might settle with you and they might give you a charge off on the debt, a 1099-C, but you're still not having to necessarily pay that. You have to pay the taxes. We'll settle that up with one problem at a time. But there is opportunity for negotiation. And so I was able to come in and negotiate with most of the vendors down to 40 cents on the dollar. And we what did we do? We took a home equity line of credit. We cleared it up. We took care of the taxes and we righted the ship. Yes, they got this HELOC loan that they got to repay, but he's now working again. So here's how we're going to structure that. Cash flow is king. We worked through all that scenario. And so then I think my dad charges him like $150. And so $150, 30% payout. I don't even think I could buy dinner with my spouse and I. And, and I'm really dissatisfied with that amount of money. But, my father's not one to necessarily be complained to. And so, I went in there and I was like, wow, he goes, what'd you learn? And, I said, well, I learned that you can negotiate about damn near everything. And I learned that the first time I saw a woman in a grocery store, bring out the store manager and negotiate the price of strawberries down, my mouth dropped to the floor. I was like, hot damn, everything in life is negotiable. I did not know I could negotiate produce with a store manager. And so I said, well, I learned about negotiating debt. I learned about judgments. I learned about working with attorneys. I learned people share a lot more information with you than you should just because you ask. And he said, yep, what else did you learn? I said, I also learned I don't want to do debt consolidation. I don't want to negotiate these things. I learned a lot about managing cash flow and just moving the pieces around. And he said, anything else? And I said, yeah, there's no money in this. And he said, no, there's no money in this. And he said, now you've got a skill set. Now you can tell people what to do. And now you know what you're worth not to go do this. Because, for my, whatever it was, $60 that $30 that I earned, I spent hours, hundreds of hours for it. And I didn't go home and complain to my spouse. I didn't, my brother and I kind of looked at each other, but he was sending a stack of cold calling and insurance apps when he started, so it's not like either one of us got, like this nepotism book of business handed to us. So, we kind of commiserated together, but we didn't complain to anyone else. And the next time something came around, my dad said, hey, listen, we got this other client. And I said, yes, sir, happy to help. And I didn't say, no, I'm not doing that. No, it's not worth doing it. I said, yes, sir, I'm happy to help. Because I didn't have the clout and credibility as an early 20-year-old to bring on really affluent clients. What I did have the clout and credibility to do is work with their adult children, help them cash flow manage, and in order to strengthen that relationship. And today, we have really affluent clients that, as Floyd talks to them about succession and says, hey, and they said, oh, no, I've been working with Jamie for years. So, and they are so appreciative that I've worked with their adult children. It doesn't matter if I bring on them we call them legacy clients at Schelansky & Associates. So an adult child of a client is a legacy client. And they're some of my favorite. Because they come in, they say, nope, mom and dad always said to tell you or to call you when something happened. We're getting into more complicated seasons of our lives. We need help. And it does nothing but strengthen. Now, that doesn't mean that you should always do it. We always charge them. So even though I think this particular client, Bob, paid like $150, we don't let the client pay for it. Clients are always willing to pay for their adult children. We tell them, thank you very much. It might come to that. However, your children don't need a hand out. They need a hand up. And if they don't have any skin in the game, they're not going to be committed to doing this. And if a client's like, no, it's okay, I'll pay for it, we won't work with the legacy child because nobody values things that are just given to them. They just don't. And so I said, thank you. Can I have another? Can I have another? Can I have another? And I just started building my experience and my expertise. Now, I didn't stay there, but I used that as an opportunity because I knew I didn't know everything. It wasn't imposter syndrome. I, honest to God, did not know everything. And so I had to gain that knowledge. I had to get that experience. I had to get that time under my belt. And in doing so, makes me a better professional, makes me more qualified to now talk to people and to give them advice and tell them, actually, yeah, go do this, this, and this. I worked with a client one time. And so I'm building that repertoire. But recently, I've had people come to me and say, I just graduated university. The university is telling me I should be making X, which is always over $100,000. All my classmates told me that they went on and got those jobs, and I should be making that too. Okay. How many times do you discuss your salary with your friends? And if you do you treat it kind of like buying a car? Nobody tells you what they bought a car realistically for. Like they don't pull out the finance paperwork and say, oh, I got this car for $45,000. See it there? And we tell people, oh, we got it for 40, or oh, we got a screaming deal. We talked them down to 38. Why? We want to sound like we are the better negotiators. And so if somebody's not willing to show you their employment contract, probably is, they're full of crap. When we talk about numbers like that, if we just arbitrarily throw out numbers and are sharing with everyone, they're probably bogus numbers. And so we have a lot of people in this country that are unfortunately jealous, and they want to look at other people and say, this person got that. It's not fair unless I get that too. We just had this happen luckily we're kind of sometimes slow to hire, but quick to hire, but we're also very quick to fire now. So we know who's going to work and who isn't going to work. And so we had somebody that was a recent college graduate and had zero experience, but said, listen, we offered the starting wage. They said, that's great. Then they came back and said, hey, if I go get these licenses and designations, can I move up to this bracket? And I said, well, yeah, here's the two-step process. You go get this license designation. We're going to move you to the next tier. And they said, I don't want that next tier. I want the one above it. And we said, okay, the one above it has X amount of experience. They can crank out, 200 tax returns by themselves. And they said, that's fine. What do I have to do to prove myself? And I said, all right, well, let's get you started and let's give you a trial run. And we'll give you 25 tax returns to complete your first week of work. We'll make sure they're returns that had all the information. You put them into our software, you crank out these tax returns, and yeah, let's sit back down and renegotiate your salary. And he said, fabulous. That's great. I want to make sure, these are their words, I want to make sure you guys get what you're paying for. So I have no problem. There will be no hard feelings. If I wasn't able to do it, I'm happy to start with the starting salary and earn my way up. Okay, great, right? Now we're having great, transparent conversations, which I am 100% about. All right, we get into 3 days of them preparing tax returns, and they have not completed 3 tax returns out of the 25. Really struggling because they had zero experience doing it. So they had this great degree, but they had no application. They had no real life experience doing it. And so we were like, all right, well, that's no problem. We'll educate you. We'll put you on a path, get you up to speed. In the next 6 months, you'll be able to pound out that many. And then we'll, get you a year worth of returns underneath you. And then next year, if you're able to get these done in that amount of time, we'll renegotiate or we'll come back to the table with what you've asked for. And so it sounded good in theory until it came to application, because in their mind, they thought they were going to come in and pound out those 25 tax returns, no problem. And even though they had agreed to one, they weren't going to be satisfied because mentally, they had already been envisioning getting the income that was 2 levels above where they were at. And so when they went home, talked it over with their spouse was like, oh my gosh, no, you're worth so much more than that. You absolutely can't settle for that, et cetera. And so put a lot of influence into that decision making. But the spouse didn't know, like, hey, I can't complete these returns. I can't do the work that was assigned to me because I have no experience. I've got this degree, but I have no application for it. And that's really unfortunate that the spouse, and this has happened 2 times this year, a spouse has really influenced an employee to leave a position or give up on themselves or give up on the pursuit because they're unaware of the inability to do the work being asked to be done and unaware that there's a path. Like, if you want to earn more money, cool, let's talk about it. Let's have those conversations. Let's figure out but your job is to become indispensable. Your job is to, if I had been that person in that position, I'd be like, hey, no problem. I'm going to start on this salary. In the next 6 months, I'm going to do everything I can to learn about taxes and get me up to speed. Can we set a date on the calendar right now, you and I? So say it was January 1st. Can we go to June 1st and revisit my compensation? And I'm going to use this next 6 months to just do X, Y, and Z. And if you'd been talking to me about that, I'd be like, yeah, 100%, let's do it. And if you get yourself up to that level, I am happy to pay you more. But I'm not paying you more because somebody you graduated with may or may not be making more. I'm not paying you more because you already mentally spent a paycheck you're not worth. You have to be able to do the work that you're assigned. And if she had done that and become absolutely indispensable to the organization and exceeded expectations, hell yes, let's adjust that salary. But this also comes down to the timing factor. A lot of employees don't time when to have compensation reviews very well. So one is the responsibility of the owner or the leader of the organization to schedule performance and compensation reviews. I like to do compensation reviews in the spring because everyone has grandiose visions of what they should be earning in the new year, but they don't do a lot of great work in the new year necessarily. So I like to give it to the spring and then have that compensation and make sure we're aligned in that subject. Timing of this, if you are a team member and you're looking to have a compensation review with an employee or employer, you need to sit down and go over your work. You need to go over your work as if it was your child and you are trying to find something. And you need to make sure that you have not given yourself visions of grandiose, that you are worth so much more than what you might be worth. And the data is a great way to do this. You should have an employee scorecard and you should know what that scorecard is. In fact, I just called one of my leads. We hired some additional personnel underneath her. And as we've done that, she's been able to be hyper-focused on one aspect. And I had a call with her this week and I said, hey, just so you know, I want to make sure, and I'm going to have this conversation with you quite a few times, that your scorecard is now based on lead conversion. Your scorecard is now based on how many, not whether or not client hires our firm, but whether or not you got a prospect to meet with a financial advisor. And she was like, okay, that recalibrates things for me. And I said, yes, this is how we're going to know you're on track or off track. And so you're not coming to me wondering, and this happened a lot. And I didn't realize because I'm so not casual, but I am social with my team members. And she came to me and was like, hey, am I doing a good job? Like, is my work okay? And I was like, oh, I'm not giving you enough feedback. Because we were working so intimately together, my feedback was instant. It was, hey, don't do this, do this. Or, hey, thank you so much for doing that. That was excellent. But I wasn't formalizing that in a way. Employees want to know that. And team members want to have that formal review with you to know if they're on track or not. And this isn't just rank and file. These are financial advisors too. This is a lot of their goal setting. Where am I at? What do I need to learn? Where do I need to get to, etc. So choose your timing after you have reviewed the work that you have done. Now, here's a do not do this to an employer, or at least don't do it to me. Don't go out and do a bunch of bogus market research and tell me what other people in your job should be earning. Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me your market research and I'm going to go look up that as well. And I'm going to see all the qualifications you don't have. And I'm going to see all the years of experience you don't have under your belt either. And I'm going to look at all of the work that person is doing and saying, okay, great, you want to apply for that position, go right ahead. But you're not doing X, Y, and Z that position is required or licensed or certified or have those years of experience underneath you, do you? And that's not a pleasant conversation between any of us. So don't sit there and throw it back into your employer. Hey, I've done this market research. I think I should be earning X. Instead, become indispensable. Thank you, sir. May I have another? Thank you. Yes, that was a great learning opportunity. I've taken care of this. Now, one thing I just told my son, he called this morning. He was on a massive rant about his current employer. And I said, did you memorialize that in an email? They had agreed on something and he had the verbal conversation in their team meetings 2 or 3 times. And then the supervisor came back today or last night and said, sorry, no, we've gotten that's not approved any longer. We disagree with it. And so he's like, hold on a second. We already approved this whole process. I already have things in place. And they said, yeah, but we shouldn't have approved it. So we're going to go ahead and cancel it. Now, not that things are inflexible because you have to have rigid flexibility. Things are going to change. But in this case, in his mind, he's like, you're not doing what you said you're going to do. That's really important to us as a family. It's one of our 4 rules in life. My father made us recite these rules every single day. And it was be on time. On time means 15 minutes early, 5 minutes early if you're on a team meeting or a Google Meet, Zoom, all those kind of things. And then say please and thank you. You were raised to say please and thank you. Be accountable, which means say I'm sorry when you owe somebody an apology. Don't say I'm sorry all the time when you don't mean it, but be accountable for the part that you've played in it. And the fourth is do what you said you're going to do. Do what you said you were going to do. And sometimes we say things we don't want to do, but we said we were going to do it. And if you said you're going to do it, it's an integrity thing. You got to go and do it. Micah and I, this year on business strategizing, we told somebody we were going to do something and we got 2 months into it and we're like, shoot, we do not want to do this. But we had already said we were going to do it. So guess what? We did it and we got it done. We got it across the finish line because it was a matter of integrity that we do the things that we tell people that we're going to do. So for my son, Lane, it was an integrity thing. They didn't do what they said they were going to do when it came to him getting something laid out. And I said, great, what was your part of it? And he said, I did not put this in writing. And I said, nope, immediately after you guys agreed on this, you should have memorialized it inside of a conversation and sent an email so everyone was on the same page. And he's like, yep. I did not do that. And he's like, I didn't do it because we talked about it twice and I thought it was taken care of. And I said, yep. And that's true of everyone. But sometimes what you say and I hear are two different things. So the next time you're in this situation, you need to immediately hang up that phone call. Don't look at anything else. Memorialize the key talking points and send it back. And any business owner that has a meeting in which you are negotiating or talking or establishing things will tell you the exact same thing. Go memorialize it. Go document that. Go get it in writing between both parties so that way you both have a common place to look at and come back to and remember what you verbally agreed on. Now, the second mistake I see employees make is they love to give me a highlight list of their accomplishments. Here's all the things I did. And that's freaking awesome, right? That's great. What do they fail to leave on that list? Things they didn't do, things that they missed the mark on, things that they need to improve on. So if you're going to go through and create a list of your employer as part of your negotiation tactic, one is timing. Two, do not bring market research into it unless you are really, really comfortable with the fact that you can do what other people are asking to be done for that compensation you're looking for. And then three, don't bring a list of your accomplishments unless it accompanies a list of your failures and your shortcomings, because then that shows me that you're like, hey, I did really great at this. I missed the mark here. And that's good, right? And that's part of good negotiation skills is being able to admit that, the shortcomings and the successes. And so if an employee comes to me and says, hey, listen, I'd really like to be earning X. What do I need to show you in the next 3 months in order for that to be achievable? And then we can sit down and jam that out together. You go do X, Y, and Z, and I'm happy to move your compensation. Let's get an appointment right now on the calendar, because this is one thing that's really important to me, that if you tell an employee you're going to talk to them about your compensation, don't kick that can for as long as possible. Don't kick that can while you're looking to hire someone else. Don't put them off because you're in a bad situation. Be honest with them. Tell them. I just had this meeting yesterday. It's very hard for some, particularly women, to talk about compensation. And she was really nervous. Her hands were shaking. She's like, this is so hard for me. And I could literally in the camera see little beads of sweat. And I leaned across and I said, okay, Sue, let's talk about money. What do you want to be earning? And she goes, oh, how did you know? And I was like, well, you look like you're about to vomit. That was a good indication. Because we don't like to have to explain our worth or ask for more. I think that's a gender thing. I don't always think, it might be a human thing. I think it's predominantly in gender, because women particularly feel that if we just do good enough, we'll be recognized for that silently without having to ask for it. And so when we do have to ask for it, we think that they're going to tell us about our shortcomings instead of our successes. So if you use some of these skills that I'm giving you here today, I think it's going to be really beneficial for you. And I said, okay, great. Let's look at all the things that you've accomplished. Are you on track or off track? And she was like, here's the things I did. Here's the things that, I know I've got to improve on. And I said, okay, great. With more money becomes more responsibility. And she said, 100%. I completely get that. And I know we have big goals and I have to level up to go achieve those. And I said, yes, you do. And I said, so let's give it, 2 months and you need to do X, Y, and Z. And then when I increase your compensation, and let's get this meeting on the calendar right now. And we got the meeting on the calendar. I said, when I increase your compensation, I'm expecting more value for what I am paying. And she said, yes, that is completely understood between us. Now, think about this for a second. If you went to a 5-star Michelin restaurant and they brought you out a Jack in the Box hamburger and french fries and put it on a plate, would you feel it was worth the value of the $98 that they are going to charge you when you know you got $2.99's worth of value? No. Now, could that same Michelin restaurant make some Wagyu steak hamburger on a brioche bun with pommes frites, which is just a hamburger and fries, by the way, and charge you $56? Yes, they can. Why? Because you think you're getting more. And guess what? You are getting more. You're getting better quality. You're getting more substance. You are getting a better experience than Jack in the Box. If you exchange money, if there is more money, there must be more value. The work that you are going to get paid for with a salary increase is not because of the work you did, but the work you are going to do. And this is a real problem for a lot of team members because they look and they say, hey, listen, look at my history. Look at all the things that I did. Pay me more. No, I paid you for that work. We agreed on a salary. You did that work. I paid you for that work. Now, if you're wanting more compensation, I want more value. That doesn't mean hours. That means a higher caliber. It's a skill set. It's taking something off of their plate, especially if you're a team member. If you can go to a financial advisor and say, where in the week do you get the most roadblocked? Where are your greatest pain points? And if I say, you know what, it's this, and this always gets dropped off. I always forget and I got to pick it up on the weekends and do it, or I get home at night and I have to do it because I forgot to do it. And so here's a solid win, especially if you're working with a solo practitioner. If you are working with a solo practitioner and financial advisor, and you come to him and say, listen, where's your greatest pain points? And he says, man, I'm getting bogged down in email. He says, great. And the next 2 months, I want to talk to you about my compensation. But before we get there, I'm going to take over email delegation for you. And I want you to make me a delegate of your email inbox. And every morning before you get to the office, I'm going to have it cleaned out of all spam. I'm going to organize it. I'm going to highlight it. Any client task that I can take care of, I'm going to forward over to our clients at business name account. And we're going to delegate those out. Anything that needs your attention because it involves financial advice is going to remain in your inbox. If I am able to do that, which by the way, Mr. or Mrs. Financial Advisor will free up 10 to 15 hours of your time a week, can we adjust my salary to X? So remind them what you're giving them for that compensation. If I give you back 10 to 15 hours out of your week, is it worth adjusting my compensation by 10%? If I give you back that time, is it worth 10%? And that's a slam dunk for most people who can afford to make that choice. But then you have to actually go do it. Remember, compensation you're asking for is not based on past performance. It's based on future expectations. If you want more money, provide more value. TPR Nation, I have given you a ton of information and examples, and I shared with you some of the do's and don'ts, the stories that I've had with employees that have successfully negotiated their salaries and ones that have successfully seen them out of a job. So as I look at giving you these action items, action item number 1, if you are a lead, a manager, a financial advisor, an entrepreneur, business owner, you need to schedule performance reviews and compensation reviews with every single one of your employees. Don't leave them in the lurches. Don't make them think they have to bring the conversation to you. Does that sometimes happen? Yeah, it happened to me twice, in the last month. But we didn't, for these 2 individuals, only one of them had something already scheduled. It was just, they didn't want to wait for the appointment. The other one, we didn't have scheduled. So she was right to bring it to me because it got dropped off the list. So making sure that you have that on the calendar. 2, if you're an employee, a team member listening to this, remember, timing is everything. If you just sucked at your job, or you guys just had an awful surge, or you missed a deadline, you didn't do well, don't go ask for a raise. It's terrible timing. They're thinking, why do I have any employees, yet alone trying to give you more to do something? Do not do a bunch of market research unless you feel really confident you have all the skills, experience, and expertise that job is being published for. Be aware of that. If you bring your strengths to it, bring your weaknesses too. Admit what you did wrong. Admit the areas that you have to improve on, and realize that asking for future compensation means more value. You're going to bring more to the organization. If you're not sure what that means or how to do it, ask the pain points. Make sure you talk to your financial advisor. Email delegation is a great one. Too many financial advisors I know still have their email on their damn phone. If you want to do a rock star commitment with your financial advisor, say in the next 90 days, I don't want your email application on your phone. That's our goal. Let's figure out how to make this happen. Now, if your financial advisor and email delegation scares the crap out of you, by the way, it did me too. You need to go listen to the episode and how it made me a convert. And now I'm not going to lie, I'm so darn spoiled in this matter. I do get a little annoyed when my email's not already sorted because my executive assistant is on holiday. I don't say anything except for to all of you right now, but I am annoyed when I go in because now I have this, flood of email that normally, dude, I've got 6 to 10 emails. It's super streamlined, super clean, and I know the work that I have to get done and what's been scheduled on my calendar to go do. So if you can make that a goal with your financial advisor, fabulous, fantastic, make it happen. Another action item, if you don't have a client's address, that is really beneficial. Why? Because clients feeling that they only can come to you means that they will only come to you for everything, every address change, every distribution, everything. That is normally a team member's responsibility, and your team member wants to be of value to your organization. You have to let them know how to. TPR Nation, this is Jamie Shalansky, episode of Worlds to Conquer. Go find people who share your values. Change the world.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and wife. The perfect